All right, so in this video, we are going to look at Russia in between World War I and World War II. When we last left Russia, the communists had won, and they had created the Soviet Union, and it was the first successful communist revolution. And when we say the Soviet Union, remember, it's more than just Russia. Right? There are going to be other pieces to it as well. But Russia was a mess, or the Soviet Union was a mess. Had years of first World War One, then Civil War. The economy was devastated. Leon Trotsky, the Red Commissar of War, said Russia stood on the edge of the abyss. An abyss is a bottomless pit, so that's not a good place to be. So Lenin and the government developed a new economic policy designed to help the Soviet economy recover. And basically, it was communism mixed with a little bit of capitalism. Small businesses and small industry was allowed to be privately owned once again, and peasants could sell their produce on the open market for profit. And it worked. It pulled the Soviet Union away from the edge of the abyss. Now, this was only supposed to be temporary. Eventually, the goal of communism is for there not to really be private property at all, and for there to be a classless society. Now, we don't exactly know what the Soviet Union would have turned into under Lenin's leadership, because he begins to have a series of strokes. We'll get to that in a second. So you have Lenin as the supreme leader, and then you have the Politburo. That's the chief policy-making body of the Soviet Union. But there is a split within the Politburo on what direction this new Soviet Union should take. Should they try to spread communist revolution throughout the rest of the world, or only focus on developing the Soviet Union into an industrial power? And part of this debate is Joseph Stalin. He was from Georgia, the part in Europe, not in the United States. Don't be silly. And during World War I, during the Communist Revolution, he was a member of the Bolsheviks. One of his jobs was to commit crimes to make the Bolsheviks money. Rob banks, extortion, thievery, basically. And once the communists have taken over, he is made the general secretary of the Communist Party. And at first, he's rather upset by this. He does not feel he's been rewarded enough. But then he realizes that he has actually been given immense power. It's the job of this general secretary to appoint government officials. So what he begins to do is he begins to fill the government up throughout the Soviet Union with people that will be loyal to him, waiting for the right time to try to assume power. And then Lenin has those series of strokes that we talked about, and Stalin begins to move in and exercise more and more power. Now, this concerned Lenin. Lenin, near the end of his life, began to mistrust Stalin, and even wrote letters to the Politburo warning them about Joseph Stalin. But see, he had already filled the government up with people loyal to him. And eventually Lenin will pass away, and Stalin's going to start making his move. Right? And so he has, right, the government, right, filled with people loyal to him that he has appointed. And so when Lenin dies, there's this power struggle between Leon Trotsky and Joseph Stalin. And to illustrate a point, Lenin passes away, and obviously he's going to have a huge funeral. Stalin, who organizes the funeral, tells Trotsky the wrong day of the funeral on purpose. So Trotsky does not show up to the funeral, and Stalin does. Then Stalin begins to spread word, what kind of communist is Leon Trotsky? He didn't even come to the funeral of our dear beloved Lenin. And remember, Lenin didn't even like Stalin by the end of his life. So Stalin is able to force Trotsky out of the Communist Party, out of the Politburo. Eventually, Trotsky has to leave the Soviet Union. And eventually, Trotsky is murdered in Mexico City, probably on the orders of Joseph Stalin. So Lenin, before he died, he wanted the Russian Revolution to spread into a worldwide workers' revolution. And Trotsky believed the same. Trotsky believed that the Soviet Union should concentrate on spreading revolution. Stalin believed the USSR, the Soviet Union, should concentrate on building communism in one country, the Soviet Union. And Trotsky, remember, loses. So there you go. Stalin's going to be more concerned with developing communism in the Soviet Union and turning it into an industrial power. He creates a totalitarian state, one man rule. He eliminates anyone who opposes him, uses the secret police to instill fear, orders mass deportations and executions. And government begins to control every aspect of society. Right? Ideas are more powerful than guns. We do not let our enemies have guns. Why should we let them have ideas? It's a totalitarian state. Creates this cult of personality where he almost embodies the state. And it's almost like he expects the people of the Soviet Union to worship him, a cult of personality, this cult of the supreme leader, the idea that he can do no wrong, that he is like the father of the people, as you can see in the image in the bottom right side of your screen or in the middle, and that he is going to make the Soviet Union great. And in some ways, he does make it great, or at least powerful. Probably not great, and we're going to see that in the next video.